Ketepu, Couche, welcome, bienvenue, Alafia, Akwaba. Welcome to the African Jellyba, Ancestral Jellyba channel. You're tuned in to the African Ancestral Jellyba channel. We are black. We would like to welcome you to the Herukhути cycle. It's all about Herukhути. We're in the Herukhути cycle. Herukhути is what? Herukhути is the warrior. Herukhути is the infinite horizon. Herukhути is a double sword, double-edged sword. Herukhути stands for justice. The difference between the warrior and the soldier is this. The soldier, when a general gives him the order to kill innocent women and children, like all those genocides, atrocities that have happened, the soldier will follow through and carry out the general's order. The warrior, on the other hand, if a general gives him the same order, instead of killing the innocent women and the innocent children, he takes out the general. Why? Because the general has stepped out of place and is no longer standing by truth and divine law. So he's a dangerous person and he needs to be taken out. So this is what the warrior does in your spirit. When you are doing things which are wicked, endanger innocent people, then you definitely need to have that warrior come in and cut off those negative emotions. Herukhути in our tradition commits human sacrifice because we sacrifice our human for our divinity to rise. It's something which is very esoteric. It's not something which is physical, not taking a virgin up on a mountain, but we're taking our own ideas, conditions, and beliefs that are not in sync with truth, going to the highest mountain and sacrificing them because they are of no use to us. That's what Herukhути stands for. That's the justice. Herukhути defends divine law, which is love, the law of the universe, and that is applied to us. The truism of Herukhути is that God neither punishes nor rewards, okay, that we will have the comfort to ascertain that for ourselves when we live in truth. So we're going to tell you this story. We're going to tell you the story of Herukhути in the cycle. The story of Herukhути is this. It's the story of Ogun Herukhути. So once upon a time, one day, once upon a time, there was a great warrior in Kemet, and he was known to be somebody who was very courageous. He never feared going into battle and taking out the enemies of Ra, the enemies of the general, the enemies of the pharaoh, the enemies of the king. So this warrior, who was a great sinewy beast like this one right here, cut with only muscle, pure muscle, came to the general. He came to the king, and he was consulted with the king. And the king says, you know what? We have a whole bunch of enemies which we need to take out. These enemies are causing a threat to our kingdom, our queendom, to our civilization. And if we don't take them out, our civilization will surely perish. So the king consulted with that warrior, his general, who's the great warrior Herukhути, or Ser, and Tahuti consulted with him and said, you know what, Herukhути, we need to go into battle with these enemies of Tawi, these enemies of our kingdom, our queendom, our empire, civilization. So you know what? We're going to have to go to Mount Behutet early in the morning at the sun rising. We're going to have to get our weapons sharpened. Our swords need to be razor sharp so that they can cut with one swing through bone and through matter, through anything. So let's sharpen our swords and let's get ready for battle, Herukhути. You're going to lead us to battle because you are the most valiant and courageous warrior we have. Without you, we will definitely lose. So the king, Osir, and his counselor, his advisor, and of course the council of elders tell this to Herukhути. Herukhути, at dawn tomorrow on Mount Behutet, we need you to show up with your double-edged sword sharp and yourself ready with your sinews all flexed and stretched, ready for battle. Herukhути says, no doubt. So shall it be. Will it be? It will. I will be there. I will be there at 6 a.m. sharp. When the sun rises, I'll be ready to take out every single one of the enemies of the civilization of Tawi and of the king Alser. I will do that. Have no fear and no worry, because I am the valiant warrior who will triumph. Alser is like, I do trust you. Tahuti and the others are like, Herukhuti, you are the one. You are ready, and we're putting our whole civilization survival in your learned, courageous, brave warrior hands. Go forth with Godspeed. So Herukhuti goes home. He does that Herukhuti dance, that movement, about 10,000 times. He gets himself all fired up, ready for battle. He's not going to joke around. And the next morning, he has his sword sharpest as ever. He goes to the highest peak of Mount Behutet, ready to go into battle. He looks around. Where are the enemies of Ra? Where are the enemies of Alser? Where are the enemies of civilization? Who are they? And then he sees nobody. He keeps on looking. He said, but this is the time for the battle. I'm ready. His sword is ready and sharp, like this guy right here, ready to go to battle with the sword and with the truth, holding the truth and holding his sword, ready to take out the enemies of civilization with truth. Then after a while, he's been waiting and he realizes, it appears in his mind all of a sudden, oh flip. The enemies are not external. All the enemies of Ra, Alser, and civilization are within. Within me are those enemies. Therefore, instead of taking his sword to externally brutalize and take out and decapitate other beings, Herukhuti says, I know what I must do. I must perform that human sacrifice. So he takes his sword and he looks inside and he sees all the enemies of civilization and Ra, his anger, his fear, his worry, his deceit, his grief. All these are bubbling up inside of him, impeding him from living truth. So he realizes that that is what he's got to cut. So he performs that human sacrifice. He cuts out all the emotions, conditions, ideas, perceptions based on Set, the animal and the human within him. And then he realizes that that human sacrifice he's performed has given rise to his divinity, so that Kemet and Tawi can be a great civilization once more. Basically, because he's protected divine law. He's protected Ma'at, who's lighter than a feather, the truth which he found he was not living within his spirit, is that truth which, after the sacrifice of his lower emotions and being subjugated and enslaved to them, that truth rises to the surface. Ma'at is lighter than a feather once again. Ma'akeru. And Kemet rises to an apex of greatness it had never seen before. Just because the warrior had gone to the mountaintop and realized that the enemies of Kemet and Tawi were not external but internal enemies on which he needed to operate right away, right now. In this cycle, we need to operate on our lower emotions, conditions, and ideas. Cut them off and let Ma'akeru, let Ma'at be lighter than a feather. Let your heart be lighter than a feather by living truth and performing the ultimate sacrifice of the enemies to the realization of your divinity, which are inside of you and are bubbling right now. As Herukhuti gets ready, Ogun sharpens his sword for the real sacrifice, which is no sacrifice at all, because it's going to allow you to rise in justice and truth and live according to what civilization intended, for you to evolve from a mere man, a human, an animal man, to being a god man and a god woman. Ashe Heruktiong. Herukti. Let's do the Herukhuti thing. Storika, Storigu. He left by you. I like to say peace and blessings. Enjoy your Herukhuti cycle. Remember that the sword must, first of all, cut you off of your emotions and your internal deviances in order to stand in the light of truth. And that is more important than anything else. That is the most important thing you could do. Je dois vous for listening. Je vous remercie d'avoir écouté. I tell you, thank you for listening to this channel. We'll have more wisdom for you, but as you go forward in the Herukhuti cycle, remember the difference between the warrior and the soldier, which I told you, and be the warrior. Do not be the soldier. Peace and blessings. Blessings and peace. Ashe to all the power within you to rise to your divinity and make an impression, cut your emotions off, and live truth, regardless of what the emotions might tell you to do. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Lala salama, peace and blessings. Keru nefer.